Ah, ah. Actually, that's the wrong noise, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is
It's the
actually.
wrong noise.
Yeah,
Bleh. How about this? Bleh, bleh. Is that
that's a
better?
little bit better. Yeah, that's a
Okay,
little bit
you
more
do one. You do
appropriate.
one. You do one. You do everything. British horror. Can you do it with a British accent though? Hey, hey. Yeah, there we go. British horror February. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fine. How are you? You're having a
I'm
beer?
I'm having a beer.
I'm
You're having
having a
coffee.
coffee. It's
It's
strange.
later.
It's later here, so I'm having coffee. I gotta get my head wrapped around this month. Got a lot to do
British.
this month. UK horror. There's a lot, and I feel like we haphazardly picked. It's kind of cool, but we didn't really prepare for the onslaught that is UK horror.
There's a lot of UK horror. And interestingly, and I don't know a lot about it. You do, obviously, know more than me about everything to
I
do with
know a
movies,
thing or two
but
about
this in
UK horror.
particular. But I didn't realize that this movie and next week's movie, directed by the same person, was that by design on your part?
No, not really. I'm not an aficionado of Hammer stuff. I mean, we're really talking mostly about Hammer movies, although I'm not sure if they're all the ones we picked this month are Hammer. But I'm not new to it, but I'm kind of new to studying it, I guess. But as it turns out, there were only a few directors that worked on these Hammer horror movies, so you were gonna hit upon Terrence Fisher sooner or later
Okay.
because he did a bunch. And Freddie Francis did the other bunch. The two of them weren't the only ones, but you know they
Okay,
did a
but
lot.
before we get too deep into the movie, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm good. I'm living the life.
Living the dream. You had
Uh,
some good news this week. I don't know if you want to share it. You shared it with me. I don't know if you want to share it with the public.
Oh, yeah, about representation.
Yeah, I think you should share it with the public because, there
Oh,
could be 7, 8 people out there who could hire you.
I did sign with a new voiceover representative, a voiceover agency, which was exciting. I have new representation there, and haven't been doing voiceovers for a little while. It's been a few years since I've been really in the mix, and so it's exciting to get back in. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of figuring out new programs and stuff. I'm a little behind the times, so I'm playing catch up.
Yeah, see, I remember the old days where we didn't have to know anything. We wandered around the city, we had coffee with our friends, we showed up, we walked into a recording booth,
Hmm.
somebody else pushed all the buttons.
Well,
We sat there and said, "Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango," and that's all we had to do.
yeah, really, it's true. I mean, if you think about it, it was only a matter of time before that would go away because
Yeah.
that kind of golden opportunity only lasts so long.
Yeah, now it's like, "I'm a voiceover guy. Oh, I'm an Uber driver." We're the same.
Yeah, it's about the same. And it's just fine. I need the cash just like anybody else who does. And it's exciting. As you know, voiceovers are fun. It's a nice,
Voiceovers are fun.
it's a good profession if you can get the work. It's very competitive, but now that we can do it from home, um, it's a lot easier. I'm home anyway. I'm
But what
here.
what can't we do from home? There's like you could be an astronaut, but work from home remotely
You can't be a
nowadays.
brain surgeon from home.
You could almost be a brain surgeon from home. I had an operation a few months ago, and they did it with a robot. That you know about my operation, but my operation was done with a robot where they actually did one of the operations once transatlantically with a surgeon in New York and a patient in Paris.
From the golf course.
He was on the golf course, the doctor. So
Well, okay, so
you
I
could be
stand
an
corrected.
You could be an astronaut. And what did you do today, honey? I went to the moon and drove the rover around and collected rocks, and I'm home I was in the study the whole time.
You're not making me feel better, because basically this means that I could do anything with my life now, because everybody's doing everything from home. So there's
From
no
home. Yeah.
excuse not to do something more important than what I'm doing.
No, I didn't want to make you feel bad. I really didn't.
Well, anyway, we'll see. I'm excited. How was your week, Mr. Arkin?
My week was the same. I was at my desk ordering corks, looking at label stock. BOP. I learned about BOP this week, which is biaxially oriented polypropylene or something like that, which is used in making labels for bottles and this stuff I never thought I'd be learning about. And
welcome to the Arkin Brothers Talk About Movies, where the Arkin Brothers discuss movies and media and entertainment.
Yes. All right, maybe we should move on to something interesting.
I'm just in the, I mean, I don't know why you have to learn about that. That seems like something that would be well suited for some other person.
Yes, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem that way?
I mean, you're the flavor meister. You can taste it and say what's wrong and make it better. And
right. No, but that's all done. Flavor development done. Now it's all the boring nuts and bolts of production. Labels, bottles, corks, things like that. So, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Soon it's going to be in every bar and home across the country. But let's talk about movies.
If you want to.
I don't know. Yeah, why not? You know what? Nobody's paying us. We can talk about anything we want. Did you eat anything? True. You eat anything good this week?
Did I? No, it's been one of those eating a sandwich over the Mac computer weeks for me. So far, it's only Wednesday.
Okay.
It's been a little hectic, but nothing terribly exciting. I haven't even really. Have I seen anything? Did I do anything? These are the questions. These are perennial questions now. What have I done? What did I see?
There we go. Okay, Brides of Dracula. The Brides of Dracula.
Brides of Dracula. From 1960.
Yeah. In which there are no actual brides.
Nor is there an actual Dracula.
So, but what the heck?
They did what they could.
You got to get people into the theater.
They only had the rights for so many things, and so they used what they could.
Right.
So listen, you're probably even more a candidate to know about horror Hammer movies than me.
I don't know the horror canon that well. I'm ashamed to say I know of it. I didn't see. I may have seen some of them. When I was really little, when I was like between the ages of 5 and 7, Adam's bedroom was right down the hall from mine, and he had a TV in his bedroom, and I would, after our this is always gets so complicated. After our then mom, not our mom who's listening to the show, but the woman who gave birth to me, who I lived with at the time, after she and her then husband were asleep, it gets very complicated, folks. We'll put a flow chart up on the.
It's got to be an easier way to paint this picture.
After the parents fell asleep, I would creep out of my room and into Adam's room and get into his bed, and we would watch the scary movies on the TV. We would watch things like I'm blanking. Not Mighty. What was Put Me Down, Conga.
Yeah, Congo for sure.
Robinson Crusoe on Mars, all these Mothra, anything that was on the late night horror before it went to the little short movie of the U.S. Air Force pilot and the poem signing off and the test pattern on the screen. We would watch until then. So I'm sure I watched some of the Hammer stuff then, but probably had the covers over my head through most of it, with Adam calling me an idiot because I was scared. Because Adam still tells the story about the time we went to the movie theater on Halloween and to see War of the Worlds, and I freaked out and started running up and down the aisle screaming because I got scared.
Oh man, I wish I'd been there for that. I wish I'd seen that.
Yeah. I lost it apparently.
Likewise, I was I had, by the time I was born, I had a little TV, a hand-me-down black and white TV that mom and dad let me have in my room. Looked like a space helmet. Remember, it was like
I remember that
oval
TV.
thing.
Yeah.
Tiny little screen.
Yeah.
But I could pick up local, like Channel 11, Channel 9 in New York here, which is like the local stations, and their movie programming was fantastic.
Yep.
When I was growing up.
WPIX and WOR.
It was fantastic. And I got into the black and white horror movies that way, up at night. Babysitter of mine got into trouble because mom and dad came home and found out that I had seen Frankenstein. Like I was watching Frankenstein alone, and she let me do it. And mom and dad got upset, and she was like, "No, he's fine. Like he wouldn't. That was his idea. I said no, and he said no. I'm going to do it." And they were like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine." They didn't scare me, so I would stay up and watch them at night, and then on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings, they'd have a cavalcade of that stuff when I was a kid too. So,
okay. Well, what I did notice watching this movie was how much of the movies that came after this that I am really familiar with reference this style.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, well, one of the movies I was going to say to pair with this, Fright Night, which is one of the main characters in Fright Night, the Roddy McDowell character in Fright Night, is a host of one of those late night off-brand TV station shows that shows old horror movies. He's, the guy who dresses up and does the the intros and the commentary on the old horror movies. So he's a host of a show that shows all the Hammer movies, and then he gets involved with a real vampire in Fright Night, played by Chris Sarandon. And so that movie is paying homage to a lot of the tropes and a lot of the style, commenting on a lot of the style in this movie.
Yeah, that is true. It is doing that. It's actually because it's commenting on it, it's actually quite not like Hammer movies, which were completely straight ahead.
Right.
The thing that they were known for was reinvigorating. I mean, they had been a big production company in England, in London, since the 30s. And they did well. They did a lot of different kinds of movies. They weren't known for horror, but they did some noir stuff. And then they kind of started getting into a little more horror in the 50s with a movie called Quatermass in the Pit, which I've never seen. And then they made Curse of Frankenstein out of nowhere. And it was the first reboot of Frankenstein since the original, since the Boris Karloff one from the 30s. Everybody had been doing sci-fi and then jokey horror stuff, and they went straight for gothic horror, like right down the middle of the road, back to the haunted castles and all the old, myths from the old days. So yeah, I mean, Fright Night is constantly referencing it, but Fright Night's nothing like those Hammer movies at the
Oh
same
no,
time. It's
nothing at
using,
all.
yeah.
But you can see that they're
Oh, for sure. Well, Roddy McDowall clearly is kind of like watched a lot of Peter Cushing movies.
yeah.
And so okay, look, I don't know where to start because what's did okay, was it what you expected? Do you know what the flavor of the Hammer horror movie is from that period? Did you kind of know what you were in for, or was it a surprise?
No, it was exactly what I expected.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it was what I expected at times 3. Right. It was they rotated the knob a few more times than I expected them to.
Right.
Like there were so many, well, we'll get into like talking about the style, okay?
Mhm.
So they would have these shots where, okay, we're gonna cut to the vampire doing his scary look, right? And they would cut to him, and it would almost be sometimes as if they were cutting to a still photograph, right? He was doing there was no action to it. He was doing a pose, and they'd hold on it, and
Mhm.
it was the most. I mean, okay, I'll just come out and say it. I loved the movie. I had a great time, but it's so you have to dive in.
Yeah.
It's like saying, um, it's not a Zuckertort. It's a ho-ho or it's
Well, it's like it's a steak and kidney pie. Let's say that.
yeah.
I don't know if it's a ho ho, but I hear what you mean. Yeah. It's there's too much care. They're too handmade. They're literally made by like a very close knit group of friends and artists who work together to make all these Hammer movies. So they're all handcrafted and cared for, but they're also under real budget constraints all the time. And what they what they did though was I'd love to track this and the Italian horror stuff that was coming up at a similar time, which they called
Mhm.
Giallo, which
Okay.
was, not particularly gothic, or certainly not all of it was. A lot of it was kind of modern and based on murder mysteries and stuff. But they were also incredibly brightly colored and neon and incredibly saturated and very pop art looking. And then of course like at the earlier Italian horror stuff, Mario Bava, and I mean they were doing stuff in tandem kind of. So it's interesting to see. We should probably do a Italian horror thing next or soon after to compare and contrast. But
Okay.
there,
It's almost like it's kind of like I'm trying to think like noises. It's like the horror version of Noises Off or Lend Me a Tenor or it's that kind of almost incredibly good or incredibly bad community theater, depending on how you want to look at it.
yes, there is definitely that quality to it. It's really, I think they're really a lot of fun for actors and theater people. These
Yeah,
movies,
very theatrical.
they're super theatrical, and they're also, I mean, all of them are filled with like not famous but great British stage actors who just did Shakespeare all day long and did the boards, and then they went and did a horror movie, and then so they're incredible actors, and a lot of them are real ham bones, and um, it's really cool to see like a whole stock company of people that has its own definitive style, the way that Hollywood movies did, but this whole British attitude about it, which was so steeped in Shakespeare and classic theater and playing to the the nosebleed seats.
Yep. Well, Mona Washburn, who plays Frau Lang,
Ugh.
the wife of the headmaster
You mean
at
Gene
the
Stapleton?
yeah, she's just tearing it up.
And the doctor who Miles Malison, who plays
Yes.
Dr. Tobler, you
Yeah.
know.
Right. Who wants to make extra
Yeah.
money.
So
Yeah.
let's give a little backstory to folks who have not seen. This is not a complicated story. This is not Dracula. It's called The Brides of Dracula, but as we mentioned, there are brides, but there is no Dracula. Well,
Right.
there's actually no brides either.
There's no price.
There's
There's a
ladies.
fiance at one point.
Yeah. There's girlfriends, but there's no brides.
Yeah.
Um, the movie centers around a young woman played by Yvonne Monlauer, a young French woman named Marianne who was traveling through the hinterlands. And I guess where are we? In outside of Hungary, or are we
We're
in
in
Schneidelberg?
Schneidelberg, Transylvania, I think, or thereabouts.
We're in those kinds of
The Carpathians.
the Carpathian Mountains. Anyway,
Yeah.
she's traveling to be a teacher at a girls' school, and gets dumped off by a terrible coachman who leaves her in this town without anywhere to go. She doesn't know what to do, and the innkeeper
Because
says
he's
you
bribed. He's
can't,
bribed by
yeah,
some.
you can't stay here. The innkeeper says you've got to go, and she's kind of like in a bit of a bind until she meets Baroness Meinster, played by Martita Hunt, who is, we'll get to this, but there's there's a lot to say. She brings young Marianne back to the castle. So you can stay with me for the evening. It's always nice to have company, and I'll drive you, send a coachman to the school with you tomorrow, because I know where the school is. So she goes back to the castle very gratefully. And when she's there, she spies a young man on a parapet across the way in the castle, but in another wing. And she thought she was alone, so she asked the Baroness, "What's happening? Why is this person here?" At which point, Martita Hunt gives one of the most amazing breakdown monologues I've ever seen.
She has my favorite line in the movie at that point.
What is the line?
You thought what I wanted you to think, that I was an old woman living here alone. Now you know that I am not alone. I have a son.
Yeah, she goes for it.
Yeah.
Has a great breakdown where she reveals too much. Well, you can do the math. It turns out that her son's chained up in his apartment. He's a vampire, and they're trying to keep him from killing everybody in town. And the young French girl, well, she bets on the wrong horse.
Yeah.
She thinks she's rescuing this young man, and she gets the key and unlocks his chains, and he's a vampire.
And all hell breaks loose.
But he's not Dracula.
No, he is Baron Meinster.
Baron Meinster.
Yes. And his first name is not Herman. He's not Herman Meinster.
So, things ensue. And then the only other thing I'll say about the plot is that there's a lot of escapee, and then running through the woods, and meet me at the thing, and I'll find you later. And
Yeah.
this poor French girl is thrown to the woods, essentially.
Yes.
And I think he may bite her at that point. Anyway, leaves her for dead in the middle of the road. Whereupon, who should come by?
But the only person who's from the traditional real stories, Dr. Van Helsing.
Dr. Van Helsing just happens to be driving by at that exact moment and sees her, takes her in. And Dr. Van Helsing, of course, is played by the great Peter Cushing.
The Grand Moff Tarkin.
We need to just have some separate time to talk about Peter Cushing, and maybe Christopher Lee too. But and he takes her under his wing and then goes to find the vampires and fight vampires.
Fight vampires and save the world from the cult of the undead.
So, have you weren't aware of the first Hammer Dracula outing with Christopher Lee? Had you not seen that one? Because the first Hammer Dracula movie,
no,
The Horror of Dracula.
No, I have not seen it.
I'm told it's better than this. That's a better
Well,
Better
I
for
have to watch it now.
well, it has Christopher Lee as Dracula.
He's the dude.
I mean, David Peel is great, but he's not a good. I
He's not
don't see. I think my complaint is really I don't like the vampire in this
in
movie
this
very
movie.
much. Not so much.
No, it's sort of like you have this one thing going on through the whole movie, and then you have a vampire from a bad early version of Days of Our Lives.
Yeah, yeah,
A
and very.
matinee
Yeah.
a matinee idol, blonde, pompadoured.
He looks like a beach boy, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, the West Coast girl, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
He doesn't exude that child of the night thing that you
no,
expect from a
no,
vampire.
not at all.
Although when he goes full vampire, which he does, they do some work on the teeth are great.
Teeth are
Gotta give
great.
him credit for all the teeth work.
The eyes are bloodshot as heck.
They look terrifying, and
Yeah,
so
but I don't think a vampire should have bloodshot eyes.
well, take that up with Hammer horror
They
films
need
because
blood. They don't
that's
have
their
blood in them. They're looking for blood. How would they be wasting it on their eyes?
well, you're in dangerous territory because Christopher Lee was well known to have bloody eyes through
Oh, really?
many of the Hammer Draculas.
Oh,
That was
okay.
one of his signature moves, in fact.
Oh, okay. Well, um, I have to say that I think that there's a couple of plot questions I have. And these aren't criticisms. I'm not going after this movie like, oh, this movie needs to make sense. But I have some questions. It is hinted that he's a vampire and he's been chained up for 20 years and the town thinks he's dead. His mother has chained him up, but if he didn't drink some blood, he would be dead. He'd be desiccated in his coffin, right? According to traditional vampire stuff. He's out there awake on the balcony. Without having blood, he couldn't do that. He'd be a desiccated, shriveled old thing, right? It's hinted at one point that she's been keeping him alive, which means bringing him blood. So did she bring our dear Marianne back
Marianne
there?
Danielle, I
Yeah,
believe so. I
have
think
her for dinner
yeah.
to
I
give
mean,
to him as a little snack?
yeah. I mean, there's another villager girl who dies in the movie, and she comes back to life as a vampire. I think she was another snack to keep him going. That's what I got out of it. Amelia brought up a point. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, please.
Amelia brought up something that didn't make sense either, which I have to say holds. This is crazy. It holds no water. If a vampire is among other things, a shape-shifting magical being. So I don't know how that chain's going to hold him down when he's a bat, particularly.
Yes, because the female vampirettes turn into bats.
Yeah, they do.
And that's a discussion too, the bat that they can. You know
That
the
may
story behind that?
be a whole show in and of itself.
Do you know the story behind that?
Well, no, I don't know the bat story.
They worked very, very, very long and hard on the bat for the scene in which not Greta, who turns into the bat?
Andre Melli.
Andre Melli turns into the bat. They worked very hard on a really wonderful bat that then something happened to it and it broke, and they had like a day to put together the new bat that they actually use in the movie.
Yeah.
And it looks like something from a third grade crafts fair.
It looks like a paper mache giraffe that somebody is throwing through the air.
But that's what I love about this movie is it just asks you to sit in a 6th grade auditorium and watch this take place on the most wonderful sets.
Yeah.
You feel like this is an amazing set, but the paint is still drying.
Yeah, exactly. Totally true.
It
Amazing art
reminds me of
direction.
my community theater days where we were actually, everybody go home and get your hair dryers. We have to get the paint to dry before the audience shows up.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely that feeling. I think to most Hammer stuff that I've seen, there are a few standouts that really there are a few Hammer movies that are actually pretty shocking and pretty outrageous. They get pretty sexy and pretty racy, and they were known for that. They always were in trouble with the censors. And in fact, a lot of their films had the letter X in them. For instance,
Ooh.
Quartermass, and one of their films had an X in it in the title. A few of them did, and they were red X's, and that was proudly saying that they were not for children, that these didn't pass like the
Wow.
ratings board for kids. They were, they were at the time pretty shocking, I think, particularly maybe for British audiences, which may have been a little more used to, tamer horror stuff for sure. So the amount of blood and in like vibrant, full color, like really rich, saturated, like cartoonishly red blood they used,
Right.
but everything was really super gory and dramatic, and everything looks like a stage set. Like everything is clearly like on a sound stage, outside, inside, almost everywhere.
Yeah. Really just a gas.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Are Mad Men happy?
Are
Are Mad Men happy, Matthew?
Yeah, all madmen are happy.
Okay,
When
well, let me answer the
when
question.
you're crazy, you laugh.
Okay,
They laugh. Why?
so it's just my favorite line from the movie, pretty much.
Oh, are madmen happy? I don't remember that one.
Somebody asks, I think Van Helsing,
Are madmen
are
happy?
Mad Men happy?
You know what I love is that this is early enough in the days of vampire, of audiences being acquainted with the lore of the vampire and all of that, that they have to give Peter Cushing a speech in which he explains everything about vampires.
Yeah, yeah. That's a pretty great moment when he goes. He's telling the little doctor who drinks all the potions.
Yeah.
He's saying, there's a great line that I had written down. He goes, the doctor that's drinking the potions, and he says, is by doing this, I've survived a vast amount of other people's deaths, which is another great line.
Great line.
He goes, he's just saying, like, vampires don't show reflection, and they have to have garlic around,
Right.
and there's all these rules. And he says, no reflection, not in water, not in a mirror.
Yeah,
No.
let's go through everything. Yeah. Let me ask a serious question. Was I wrong to detect any German expressionism influence in the lighting and the sets? Influence, not
No, I would say not at all, because I mean, a lot of the, for instance, Alfred Hitchcock,
who is in this movie, incidentally.
Well, who helped to create the classic British thriller, essentially,
Right.
in the 20s, studied, learned everything in Germany under the German system. And I think a lot of ways of working were brought over. Probably a lot of the technicians either worked there or learned things that were, created first in the German motion picture industry, because they were incredibly sophisticated. Their production entities were incredible, and incredibly well run and disciplined and efficient. And so I think you probably did see some of that influence there.
Yeah. They weren't production companies, they were Gesellschafts.
Oh, pardon me.
Yeah. I don't know.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, but did you hear there were two actors in this movie who were doing other people. One of them was doing a Cary Grant. The father of the dead girl sounded like
Oh,
Cary Grant,
okay. Yeah.
and the doctor sounded like Alfred Hitchcock, same accent.
A bit. He worked with Hitch, actually, so he probably
I felt like he was doing an Alfred Hitchcock imitation.
he looks a lot like Alfred
Yeah,
Hitchcock, actually.
yeah,
Kind of a slimmed down,
yeah.
kind of a Jack LaLanne version of Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah.
Um, Greta's fit when he gets free, when Baron
it
Meinster gets free,
it
and
is
she flips out with
it's
the he's free,
it's so good.
and you don't know if it's both terror and glee at the it keeps
Yeah.
going back and forth.
Talk about
She
the cackling, a mad person cackling. She
right.
cackling and cackling through the castle. You hear it reverberating, and
He's
then
free,
she has that
he's free, he's free, he's free.
long, and then to herself. So it's interesting. There's another device that you can see they use in some of these movies. They certainly use it here, which links up to these Shakespearean actors that they have on call. Um, is that they have soliloquies. Like that wasn't to anybody, that speech.
No.
That was literally just a long soliloquy from like a Shakespearean play where they did that kind of thing. And you don't really see that in movies very often. Like that was just an incredibly uh British kind of thing to do, it seems to me.
Yep, she's just
It goes
going.
on and on. I mean, it's literally like a full monologue,
Yeah.
and she's all alone.
Couple of things made me laugh.
Oh, couple?
Yeah, couple of things. The scene where when in the scene where Peter Cushing drives a stake through the Baroness Meinster's heart, did you notice there was a Band-Aid on his hand?
No, I didn't
Yeah.
see
So
it.
that
Yeah.
that I
Well,
like that.
he invented the Band-Aid.
He invented the Band-Aid. Yeah.
Van
On
Helsing brand Band-Aids.
on the rubber the log that is in the lane that stops
That
the
was
that
extraordinary.
is made of rubber, because as the guy is grunting to move it out of the way, you can see that it jiggling
It's
because
jiggling like a
it's made
rubber.
out of rubber.
Strangely, it looked heavier than an actual log would have been, but
Well,
made
I
out of
think it
rubber.
would have been, if it was made of rubber, it would have been heavier than a real tree.
Give a guy a break. That dude had to move
Just
that out of the
put a
way.
tree there. Um, and the stare in Andre Melly's eyes when she comes out of the grave as an
Oh man.
undead,
Oh, it's so
just
good.
so good.
Well, it's
And
that, that
good.
just to interrupt for a second, that image to me is what Hammer's all about. Like that um close up of her with the fangs and that look in her eye, which is really, she's really like in the zone. She's in the vampire zone, that actress. And in that lush color with those fangs and that kind of like 60s style hairdo, like the whole thing, pure Hammer. That is as Hammer as it's gonna get. And
Yeah,
it's it's like it's really unique because it knows it's, sometimes you feel like it knows it's campy and it's totally in on it, and then sometimes it's like really stuffy and you're like, is this the stuffiest thing I've like, there'll be long stretches for 15-20 minutes where it's just people drinking tea and talking in hushed tones about arrivals of carriages, and you're like,
yeah,
nothing's happening.
nothing's happening. Do we need to talk about the wigs at all?
Do you? I mean, there's a lot of them.
Well, it just that again brought me back to theater. I felt like, when you're doing a Broadway show, I mean, not to blow our horns or anything, but and you're on stage with the other actors and you're looking at them and you're thinking to yourself as you're looking at them and you're doing the scene, Thank God the audience is further away than I am, because that's the fakest looking thing I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life. But the
Yeah.
audience is 20 feet away. They're not seeing the wig that I'm seeing right now. Yes, I'll have another cup of tea. Thank you.
There's a lot of netting in this film. You
A
can see a lot
lot
of
of
wig netting.
wig netting.
But you know what? Honestly, no more than these days, and when everything is in super 4K high def, and you see all the
Nose hair.
makeup
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
How about Peter Cushing sticking his tongue out and rolling and bugging his eyes when he's getting strangled?
Look, I'm not. This is where we're gonna stop. This is where we have to stop because we can't. I'm not gonna let Peter Cushing get lumped into just yet another silly thing that happened in this movie. Because
No,
I
that was a silly moment.
it was, but it's unfair to Sir Peter.
Well, I'm being taken to task.
No, only because I truly, I mean, I have a love for Peter Cushing and an admiration for him, and it's beyond the beyond. I think he's absolutely fantastic,
Oh, I think he's
and
spectacular. And also, I mean, I have to point out that he's the Grand Moff Tarkin, and you're the Grand Moff T. Arkin. So of course there's a kinship there.
that's my name, man. Tarkin is one of my handles. That's not news to me, but I'm glad you pointed it out.
But some of our listeners might not know that.
It's true. But Peter Cushing, I mean,
If I had his profile and his hairline, I'd be a rich, famous man right
you'd
now.
have to have his voice and his athletic ability and his incredible charm as well.
I never had his voice or his charm. I had his athletic ability back in the day.
Don't know if you did.
I did a lot of falling through windows, and I did a lot of my own like stunty type stuff there for a while.
Oh, okay.
A lot of physical.
That's great. Let's leave it at that. I mean, I'll put a little compendium clips together of the things that Peter Cushing has done in movies for 37 years, and you'll see if I mean, he can sword fight. He can do.
Okay.
He
Yeah,
does
I
all
couldn't
of
sword
that
fight.
stuff.
I
I mean,
couldn't sword fight.
just the way he jumped off that moving carriage. It was like he's like Fred Astaire. He's got incredible style. And he's I don't feel the love from you on this, but that's okay. I don't feel the love.
My God, I said I loved this movie, and you're trying to pick a fight with me.
No.
I loved the movie, and I loved him in it.
I just feel like him, him creeping around a castle for 10 minutes is fascinating. Like you're interested.
Was fascinating. And the way it was so specific when he would walk in and look over here and look there and check that out, and you're watching for 5 minutes when, like you said, nothing is happening.
Nothing.
And yet he is very specifically going through very specific, intentional, thought out actions.
Yeah.
As absolutely nothing is happening.
and he did it for 25 years. Like he played these parts forever and just had nothing but respect, was a complete gentleman about everything. Like he never it's like he never occurred to him to think that these might have been naughty movies or B movies, or he just took it as seriously as anybody would take anything.
Well, I don't think it was a naughty movie.
Well, you haven't seen. We have the naughties coming up though. Like,
we've got the naughties. Okay, I want to see.
Well, this is a particularly tame Hammer movie.
Oh, okay.
I thought, yeah.
Well, then I'm looking forward to what comes next, because you know me. I like the Untamed.
This was a bit. It gets untamed. I forget what our picks are, but there'll be some stuff to make you very happy.
Well, next is Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Again, we're all over the map. We're not going on any particular.
Our last is Twins of Evil.
Well, that's a naughty one.
Okay.
That's a bit of a naughty one.
Well, good. Then we're wrapping it up with a naughty one. Um, who who are we in this movie, in your opinion? Because I have a very clear idea of who we are.
I have a I don't have I have a very clear idea, but I have like I can't decide between a couple. So like you are probably, I think, the doctor who helps Van Helsing, Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
But you also might be the guy who runs the school for girls.
Oh, okay. All right. And you?
I think that I'm the carriage driver who has to move the log. I'm that, or I might be Baron Meinster, to be totally honest.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's not such a compliment. I mean, that's not very self-aggrandizing, to be honest. I'm like,
That's
I'm
true.
the lamest vampire in movie history.
Okay. I have a very specific idea, not only of who we are,
Yeah.
but it's who we are because it would be you and me. You and I would be doing a scene together.
Oh, okay.
And
Which one? Oh,
it's I'm the doctor and you're the priest in the scene where the priest is eating the soup and the doctor is being annoying.
that's perfect.
And I think that you and I would be cast just to do that scene together.
Yeah. And then if we had been born in UK, we would be UK vaudevillainers who did that bit from 1917 all the way through the 50s. Yeah.
And they hired the brothers Arkin to
Yeah.
do the annoying priest.
Yeah. And then we have like one physical bit that's the same every time. Like you take off my hat and smack my head like Benny Hill or something like that.
And you roll your eyes at me
Mhm.
and keep eating your soup.
Yeah. There's soup in there's always soup.
There's always soup. What's your double feature for this?
Oh, I'm gonna say season 2 of The Bachelor.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Not season 3, because season 3 was kind of
not so great. I felt they hit their stride in season 2.
Yeah, like either of us know
I know
what the hell that is.
What about you?
I went the easy route. I went Fright Night so that you see both this movie and the commentary on it.
I like that. I like that.
How would you watch this movie? Because I have a very clear idea of how I would watch this movie.
I would I mean, the ideal would be for me to literally go back in time to that bedroom at 1 o'clock in the morning with that little TV and watch it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, funny. Okay.
Were you thinking of another bedroom, Matthew? I'm sorry.
I was thinking
bedroom.
Did
bedroom throw you off?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking the very first time you have a romantic interest home to cook for them.
Oh, that's great.
And you make a really juicy, rare, bloody steak and open a great bottle of wine and turn out all the lights and sit with TV trays.
Yeah, you get like open a Beaujolais, like something really rich and red.
And like, hey, honey, let's watch this movie.
I like that a lot.
That'd be fun.
This is a perfect kind of movie for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can talk during it and you can laugh, and it's got a little bit of titillation to it.
It does. Just a little bit, because it's it's
very little
1960. Yeah, and it's England. I do want to point out one or two things that I noticed. Did you notice, like, for instance, the Baroness played by Martita
Hunt.
Martita Hunt. She had some interesting costumes. Now, she's a large woman. She's a very tall, kind of broad-shouldered lady.
Yes.
And she had some costumes, and I thought, for God's sake, it's like it literally looked like remember the tennis shoe monster in the Warner Brothers cartoons?
Oh, yeah.
Her shoulder pads were that freaking big.
Oh my God.
Literally.
Oh my God.
She was like out of a Pee Wee Herman movie. I thought she was just extraordinary.
Yeah. She was terrific.
Yeah, love that. Loved the you know, there did you have a favorite shot? Like a legit favorite shot or scene
Um,
or that
my
worked for you or that was just not ironic?
Greta's fit and the whole sequence of Gina coming out of the grave through the bat
Mhm.
flying away. It was so extreme in its bad community theater-ness.
It's like Greek tragedy, bad
Yeah,
community theater.
and yet tells the story so clearly that you give over to it in
Mhm.
spite of the fact that I mean, this is melodrama. It's just over the top, completely melodramatic, and you go with it or you don't, and I went with it because why not it's going on, it's a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride of a horror movie. It's
Mhm.
not there's nothing realistic about it or but why not have fun?
Exactly, exactly. They are incredibly fun and made by very smart people. It's like there's kind of almost nothing more fun than a group of very highly intelligent people getting together to do something silly.
Yeah, you don't get the feeling like they were setting out to make a brilliant movie and failed. You
Right.
feel like they are doing exactly what they wanna do and
Hmm.
having a great time doing it and
Yeah.
are doing it in order to entertain and thrill,
Yeah. And make
and they
a
do.
bucket load of money, which they were making. I mean, the first Frankenstein movie that they made, which was just 2 or 3 years before this one, they were in their prime of like just taking over the world when this thing came out. And you know, there I don't think they had a clue what they had at first. So they were kind of making this all up as they went, but it was most of the time working.
Oh, but I think actually I'm looking at my notes, and to get back to your question about a favorite
Oh
scene or
yeah.
sequence, the cinematography and lighting in the sequence from when she goes through the secret door to his room and walking in to meet him, um, where she walks from the shadow to the light and meets him for the first time, and he's lit and they so pull the wool over your eyes when you meet him, because I didn't know the story yet, and um I did not clock when she meets him that he was the vampire. I fell for what they wanted you to fall for because he's so blonde and handsome and matinee idolish that I thought, "Oh, he's being kept prisoner because he could fight the vampire or be a threat to the vampire, and she's the baddie," I thought, the mom, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't tip to the fact that he was the vampire at first, and we haven't met Van Helsing yet. We haven't heard all of that. So I didn't know where this was gonna go yet.
Right.
Um, and I just thought that was really very interesting the way they handled that. I also really loved the windmill at the end.
Oh yeah.
I loved the idea of him pulling the arms of the windmill to make the shadow of the cross to
Well,
defeat the vampire.
that's the shot of the movie for me. That's just a great shot, beautiful shot, beautifully photographed, and it's a great concept. Like it really is.
And then the flaming cross at the end. I mean, I'm not a Catholic, but it it spoke what it needed to speak.
It's a powerful thing. Yeah, that's my favorite shot. That windmill cross thing that happens is just it's kind of unexpected because they're not using a lot of overt symbolism throughout the movie like that. It's not like they're hiding that German expressionism kind of from you until these key moments where it really pops out and it really
Right.
makes a statement, you know? There's another shot that's actually just a brilliant shot and a surprising shot similar to that one where Van Helsing is fighting with the lady vampire, the one who's kind of like the
As
den
we all
mother to
like,
all the
as we all hope we have the opportunity to do in our lives at some point.
maybe you. It looks a little bit scary. They cut to this high angle as she comes bursting out of this door, and she takes a header and falls like 15 feet onto a bunch of pallets and looks like she dies. But it's just an incredible stunt, and it's also just suddenly from this incredibly high angle looking straight down. Really cool. My favorite scene though, I think, um is one that actually also like is as well as being a surprise added a little bit of fun to the vampire lore and mythology for me, and
Oh,
that's the
what was that?
scene where Peter Cushing, he's actually been bitten on the neck by the vampire,
Oh, yes, great sequence.
and you don't know what he's going to do because you're like, he got bit, like this is bad, and he actually there's a I don't know what they call those things where they keep burning coals. It's like an iron. There's a name for that.
A
A crucible.
crucible, I think. Yeah.
There's this crucible full of hot coals, and he takes one of these hot coals and he with tongs and he jabs it into his neck where the vampire bit him. And they don't just like Peter Cushing doesn't just do a little okay, it's done. Like he jabs that thing into his neck. It's this giant red hot rock and burns himself so badly and cures himself. Actually
Yeah.
takes care of it, which was a
Well,
great.
what does he use to cool it off after burning
Oh, the
himself?
holy water, yeah.
Holy water. So holy water
That's
makes that feel all
that's
better.
some holy water.
Yeah.
That holy water is the most powerful holy water I've seen in a movie.
Yeah.
Did you see what it did to that guy's face?
Oh, destroyed it.
That's a mess.
Yeah. But see that thing of the hot coal and the holy water, the only other way to cure the vampire thing is to have your friend run into town to get the doctor, and then the doctor can't come because there's a lady giving birth to somebody.
Right.
So he tells your friend that he has to actually suck the poison out, and then your friend, oh, never, that's a different.
It's a different story. And your friend comes back and goes, "You're gonna die.
You're gonna die." Yeah.
Sorry.
That's a different story. Sorry, I don't know what I was saying. What would, if you were going to make a sequel to this movie, what would you call it? What would be a fitting sequel to this? Because I have a sequel for this movie.
What would I call a sequel to this?
Yeah, if you were going to make a sequel to this movie, what would you? I would make The Real Ex-Wives of Dracula. That's what I would do.
I like that. Between that and The Bachelor, we've got kind of a running theme here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, how would you recast that remake or that reboot of this?
Recast this movie? I think it's got to be oh God, I'm blanking on his name. A brilliant mind, a sad mind. Who is that actor? The Australian actor,
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe as Van Helsing.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. That he would be a good Van Helsing. I have to say, I think that not only would Tom Hiddleston be a great Van Helsing, but he should do the Peter Cushing story, like for real.
Oh, yeah,
he looks
should
almost exactly like Peter Cushing. I realized last night.
Yeah,
he'd be great in that.
Who else? Wonderful.
Who else would you put in the movie?
I would make Ryan Reynolds the vampire.
I had Jason Ritter.
I would have and oh gosh, I'm forgetting that I forgot to do this part of the thing, so I'm doing it on the fly.
Quite all right.
Oh, I'm a bad person. The recasting. I forgot to do the recasting.
I think that the only person
NoHo Hank would play Greta. NoHo Hank from Barry. Did you watch Barry?
I don't watch television. No.
You don't watch?
No, I don't have time. I would say that, I think I think Lady Gaga as Marianne though would be the way to go.
Oh my god. Yeah, I think that would be pretty good. Lady
Yeah.
Gaga as Marianne. And can't even as not Greta, the Gina.
Oh
What
yeah, Andre Melly.
yeah. Gina would be the wonderful actress from Wolf of Wall Street. I'm forgetting everybody's name tonight.
I'm not helping you anymore. I can't help you.
I'm too tired. I had my first class of the year this week. I've got another class on Friday. I
Oh,
mean,
you're teaching. Yeah, it's exhausting. I
the
don't.
new semester started, and I'm out of my mind tonight.
Well, I don't blame
Margot
you.
Robbie
Okay,
as the vampire coming out of the ground.
that would be good.
I think the doctor would be I can't remember anybody's name. I'm having a stroke.
Well, that's not funny to say that, but it's if it's not true, it's somewhat funny. Listen, that's okay. Maybe
Somebody had a comment here. Camille Renner says, "Not since Siskel and Ebert have I so looked forward to weekly discussions on cinema. Eye candy is a plus. Thank you, fellas. You make seeming mediocre movies classic."
hey,
Camille, thank you so much for watching, and
y-
thank you for the
thank
commentary.
you, Camille. That made my night. That's
We
really
do
very nice.
appreciate it.
Thank
And
you,
if you can supply the names of the people whose names I can't remember,
Camille. Help Matthew. Help him.
help me help myself. um, I do have to say before we sign off that I saw the previews for a show that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Have you seen the previews for Murderville?
I don't know anything about
And
it.
do you know the concept of it?
Nothing.
Murderville is a new TV series coming out starring excuse me. Um, it is starring Will Arnett, and it's a comic sort of version of a Law and Order police procedural with a different celebrity playing Will Arnett's partner every week. But that celebrity is not given the script. So they have to go along on
Are you
the
serious?
yeah, they have to go along on the investigation without knowing anything about what's going on.
Is this a half-hour show, an hour show? What is
I'm
it?
I'm not sure. But it looks
Who else is doing this show? Who's on this show? Who's doing it?
let's see. Murderville is going to be with who is starring in it? On the Netflix original site. It on IMDb, it's here, I'm pulling it up. Come along.
Come along with us.
Come along with us. Will
The
Arnett.
wonderful world of internet.
Yes, wonderful world of the internet as we search for things online. Come on, cast, come on up. So the full cast and crew: Will Arnett, Sharon Stone is a guest star. Who else are guest stars? Rob Hubel, Conan O'Brien.
This is a great idea.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see that.
It is total silliness. So people just have no clue what's happening.
How is that different from every time I show up to act in a show?
Yeah, exactly.
Not very different, folks. It's not that different.
It's not that different. I have no idea what's happening.
They weren't handed a script at all. I was handed a script 45 minutes before the cameras rolling.
Right. Yeah. Good luck to you.
Still making it up.
Right.
Yeah.
But it just looks like an awful lot of confusing.
I can't wait. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So so next week is Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
That's what it's going to be. Yeah.
Do you want to give us any kind of preview on that?
I can't. I don't really. This was picked out of a hat. I don't know that I've seen the whole movie. A lot of Hammer movies I've seen pieces of, and know, some of them I know and love, but there's a lot of them, and this one wasn't one I could totally tell you I've seen.
Okay. Well, join us next week for Frankenstein Must Die. No, Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Yes. Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed.
Must Be Destroyed. And we'll be talking about that next week. So join us.
Can't wait.
Good night, everybody.
Great to see you, man.